In the relentless rush of our modern lives, have you ever felt like you're constantly waiting for the weekend, waiting for that vacation, waiting for the day when all your problems are finally solved, believing that only then can you truly be happy? What if I told you that the answers to these very modern struggles lie hidden within ancient stories? Simple yet profound tales, passed down through generations like gentle whispers, designed not to command us, but to help quiet the mind and illuminate the heart. Today, we will journey together through 5 such stories, each one a key to unlocking a quieter room within yourself. So I invite you now to set aside your worries, to take a slow, deep breath, and to allow the gentle wisdom of these parables to wash over you, offering not just lessons for the mind, but a path back to peace for the soul. Story 1. Waiting for the river to dry, a lesson in finding joy in the present. Once upon a time, by the side of a wide and gently flowing river, there sat an old beggar. He appeared deep in thought, his gaze fixed on the water as it moved steadily and endlessly downstream. His clothes were worn and tattered, his face a roadmap of weathered lines carved by the sun and time. But there was a quiet, unshakable wisdom about him, a stillness that seemed to rival the river itself. As he sat there, a busy man, a merchant on his way to the next village, happened to pass by, curious about the beggar's profound stillness and apparent idleness. The man approached him. "Old man," the passerby asked, a hint of condescension in his voice, "what are you doing, sitting here all alone by the river?" The beggar looked up, not with annoyance, but with a calm, serene smile that seemed to reach his eyes. He replied softly, "I am waiting for the river to dry up, so that I may cross to the other side." The man laughed aloud, a sharp, disbelieving sound that startled the birds nearby. "That's impossible," he declared. "This river will never dry up. It has flowed for 1,000 years and will flow for 1,000 more. If you wait for that to happen, you will wait here forever and never be able to cross." The beggar, still smiling that same peaceful smile, nodded his head in agreement. "Yes, my friend, I know the river will never stop flowing, just as life, with its endless stream of tasks and troubles, never stops moving forward. But I am not truly waiting for this river to dry up. I am sitting here as a reflection, a living parable, to show how so many people live their lives." He continued, his voice gentle yet profound. "People are constantly waiting for their own personal river of responsibilities to dry up before they allow themselves to be happy. They tell themselves, 'Once all my debts are paid, then I will enjoy life. Once my children are grown and settled, then I will take time to relax. Once my work is finally done, then I will travel, spend time with loved ones, and serve others.' But they do not realize that this perfect, problem-free moment they are waiting for may never come." The merchant, his initial arrogance now replaced by a growing intrigue, sat down on the riverbank beside the old man, eager to learn more. The beggar continued, gesturing toward the flowing water. "People often speak as if there will come a day when all their burdens will be lifted, when every duty will be done, and only then will they grant themselves permission to find peace and happiness. But life doesn't work that way. Just as this river keeps flowing without pause, so too do our responsibilities. There is always something more to be done, another task to complete, another duty to fulfill, another problem to solve. If we keep waiting for everything to be perfect before we enjoy life, we may spend our whole lives waiting on the riverbank and never truly live. The merchant began to see the profound truth in the beggar's words. He thought about his own life, a frantic rush from one task to the next. He had always postponed his happiness, telling himself he would have time for joy later, after his work was finished, after he had achieved a certain level of success. But now, sitting by the ceaselessly flowing river, he realized that his responsibilities never truly ended. There was always another task pulling him away from the very peace and joy he sought. The beggar looked at the man with kind, understanding eyes. The Buddha had taught us that the present moment is a precious gift. It is, in fact, all we truly have. If we keep waiting for the perfect moment in the future, for the river to miraculously stop flowing, we will miss the countless moments of beauty and joy that exist right here. Right now, we must learn to carry our responsibilities as we move through life, but not let them weigh us down so much that we forget to live. We should not wait until every single task is complete before we allow ourselves to be happy. But how do we do this? The man asked, his voice now earnest. How do we balance our duties with this desire to enjoy life? The beggar smiled warmly. The key lies in recognizing that happiness is not a destination we must wait for on the other side of the river. It is a way of traveling. It is something we can find in the small, sacred moments of our everyday lives. Even while we fulfill our responsibilities, just as this river flows continuously, so too must we keep moving, but we can do so with mindfulness and an open heart. Instead of waiting for a distant day when all is done, we must learn to seek joy in the present moment, in a shared conversation with a friend, in the genuine laughter of a child, in the simple beauty of the world around us. We must serve, work, and fulfill our duties, but never at the cost of our own happiness. Life is a delicate balance, and we must learn to carry our responsibilities lightly, not like heavy stones, but like companions on the journey. The man listened carefully, the beggar's words washing over him like the river's current. He had been living as if one day the river of life would stop flowing, and only then could he cross to the other side to find joy. But the beggar's wisdom showed him that he didn't need to wait. He could find peace and happiness right where he was, on this side of the bank, even as he fulfilled his responsibilities. The beggar finished by saying, "Our lives are short, my friend. One day, our time here will end, but the river of life will keep flowing. Our tasks and duties may never fully disappear, but that should not stop us from living fully. If we wait for the perfect moment to be happy, we may wait forever. Instead, we must learn to walk through life with joy in our hearts, balancing our responsibilities with moments of laughter, love, and peace. That is the true path to a happy life." The man thanked the beggar profusely for his profound wisdom and went on his way, his heart feeling lighter and his mind immeasurably clearer. He no longer saw his responsibilities as barriers to happiness, but as part of the very current of life he was meant to navigate with joy. And from that day on, he found happiness in the small moments, knowing that he didn't have to wait for the river to dry up to live a happy, fulfilling life. The beggar remained by the river, a silent, wise reminder to all who passed by that life's responsibilities are constant, but so too is the constant opportunity for happiness. Story 2, Two Hands to Clap. Buddha's lesson on judgment and shared responsibility. After attaining enlightenment, Gautama Buddha traveled to various villages across the land to share his wisdom and teachings. One sunny day, he arrived in a small, close-knit village where he was met with a mixture of curiosity and deep admiration. Among those who gathered to see the serene teacher was a woman who approached Buddha with a sincere question. "Oh, Mahatma," she said respectfully, "you have the noble bearing of a prince. May I ask why you wear these simple ochre robes at such a young, vibrant age?" With a gentle smile that seemed to emanate pure kindness, the Buddha replied, "I have chosen this path to seek answers to 3 profound questions that weigh heavily on my heart. This body, which may appear young and attractive today, will inevitably grow old, it will fall ill, and eventually it will face death. I am on a quest to understand the true causes of old age, sickness, and death, and to find a way beyond their suffering." The woman was deeply moved by the Buddha's sincerity and profound wisdom. Inspired by his words, she invited him to her home for a meal, eager to learn more from his teachings. However, as the news of the Buddha's visit spread through the village like wildfire, some of the villagers approached him with grave concerns. "Oh, Mahatma," they cautioned, their voices lowered in a conspiratorial whisper, "you should not eat at that woman's house. She has a reputation in this village for being of questionable character." The Buddha listened to their concerns patiently, his expression unreadable. He then turned to the head of the village, an elder respected by all. "Do you believe this woman is characterless?" he asked the elder directly. The village chief, feeling the weight of his position, nodded firmly and replied, "Oh, Mahatma, I swear on my honor that she is indeed characterless. Everyone knows this to be true." With a thoughtful expression, the Buddha took the village chief's right hand and raised it for all to see. "Tell me," he asked, his voice calm and clear, "can you clap with just this one hand?" The chief looked puzzled, glancing down at his single, outstretched hand. He tried to make a clapping motion, but of course, it produced no sound. "No, Mahatma," he responded, "it is impossible to clap with only one hand." The Buddha then looked out at the assembled villagers, his gaze gentle yet penetrating. "Just as you cannot clap with one hand," he said, "it is equally impossible for this woman to be characterless all on her own. If she is seen as such, it implies that some of the men in this village must also share in that blame. If the men of this village were all virtuous and honorable, then this woman would not be defined by such a reputation. Therefore, the so-called characterlessness of this woman is, in part, a reflection of the moral state of the men around her." The Buddha continued, his voice resonating with a deeper truth. "When lust for a person of so-called loose character flourishes, It can lead to shamelessness and betrayal in society. Remember, it always takes two hands to clap. The villagers listened intently, and as they absorbed the Buddha's simple yet profound wisdom, a sense of collective shame washed over them. They realized how quick they had been to judge the woman, to isolate her with their gossip, without once considering their own roles and responsibilities in the situation. The Buddha, with his calm demeanor, then emphasized a universal teaching. It is easy to see the faults of others, he said, but it is much harder to recognize our own shortcomings. Just as a farmer scatters the husks of grain in the wind, we readily point out the faults of others, spreading them far and wide. Yet, like a hidden illness, we often conceal our own faults, refusing to acknowledge them even to ourselves. His words resonated deeply with the villagers. They felt a collective responsibility to reflect on their own actions and attitudes. Understanding that true community and true change must always begin within themselves. The Buddha's teachings encouraged him to cultivate compassion, understanding, and self-awareness, rather than casting judgment upon others. From that day forward, the villagers approached their relationships with greater kindness and introspection, fostering a community where everyone, including the woman they had once judged so harshly, could strive for a better life without the heavy weight of shame or blame. The Buddha's lesson had illuminated their hearts, reminding them that we are all interconnected and deeply responsible for one another's well-being. Story 3: Patience and Clarity. Buddha's lesson of the settling mind. Once, Gautama Buddha was traveling through the sun-drenched countryside with a group of his devoted followers. After a long walk under the warm sun, their throats dry with dust, they came upon a peaceful lake, its surface shimmering under the clear blue sky. Nestled between a grove of cool, shady trees, the Buddha stopped, took in the serene sight of the clear water, and then turned to one of his disciples. "I am thirsty," he said calmly. "Could you please bring me some water from the lake?" The disciple nodded and hurried to the edge of the lake with a small, empty vessel, but just as he was about to dip the vessel into the water, the bullock cart began crossing through the shallow edge of the lake. The heavy wooden wheels stirred up the mud and silt from the bottom, instantly turning the clear, placid water into a cloudy, murky brown. The disciple hesitated, looking at the dirty water swirling in front of him. "How can I bring this muddy water to the Buddha?" he thought to himself. "It is not fit to drink." So, he returned to the Buddha empty-handed. "Master," he said, "the water is dirty. A cart has just passed through it. It is not fit to drink." The Buddha listened patiently, but did not seem concerned. He simply nodded and gestured for the disciple to sit. He waited a while, perhaps half an hour, before he gently asked the disciple again, "Please, go back to the lake and bring me some water." The disciple, though puzzled by the Buddha's insistence, obeyed without question. He returned to the lake and found that the water was still somewhat murky. The mud was still swirling, and the lake had not yet cleared. Disappointed, he came back to the Buddha and repeated, "The water is still too dirty to drink." "Master," the Buddha simply smiled and said nothing, closing his eyes in meditation. More time passed, and once again, the Buddha opened his eyes and asked the same disciple, "Please, go back to the lake and fetch some water." This time, when the disciple reached the lake's edge, he noticed something different. The water was no longer muddy. The mud, left undisturbed, had slowly and naturally settled to the bottom, leaving the surface water above it crystal clear and calm. Delighted, the disciple filled his vessel with the now pure, clear water and brought it to the Buddha. The Buddha looked at the clear water in the vessel, and then at his disciple, with a serene and knowing smile. "Do you see?" he said. "What did you do to make this water clear? You did nothing. You simply waited. You practiced patience. And with time, the mud settled all on its own, allowing the clear water to rise to the surface." He paused, allowing the disciple to absorb this simple yet profound lesson. Then, the Buddha continued, "Your mind is just like this water. When it is restless, agitated, or clouded by strong emotions like anger, fear, or worry, it is difficult to see things clearly. Your perception is clouded, but if you simply wait, if you allow time to pass without stirring it up further with more thoughts and reactions, the mind will settle on its own. You don't need to force it or try to control it. Just like the water, it will become clear again with patience." The Buddha's words sank deep into the disciple's heart. He realized that there is no need to rush to fix a troubled mind. Like the lake, sometimes all the mind needs is time and stillness to regain its natural state of clarity. The Buddha continued, "I know that when you lose something or someone you love, it feels impossible to stay calm. The pain and sadness seem overwhelming, like a great storm churning up the lake of your mind. But remember this water. With time, the heartache will settle, and peace will return. Falling in love may be something that happens without your control, but staying attached to that love, especially after it is gone, is your choice. Time heals, and by trusting the natural flow of life, you can calm your mind and find peace again. There is always a deeper reason behind everything that happens." This simple yet powerful teaching of the Buddha reminds us that when life feels chaotic or overwhelming, we don't need to act impulsively or try to fix everything right away. With patience, clarity will naturally emerge, and we can find peace within ourselves, just as the clear water emerges from the settling mud. Story 4. The Crab and the Wave, a lesson in hidden blessings. Once upon a time, there was a small crab, enjoying a peaceful walk along a beautiful, sun-drenched beach. He loved the feeling of the warm, wet sand beneath his many legs and took great delight in the intricate, delicate footprints he left behind him. Every now and then, he would stop, turn around, and look back at his trail, admiring the delicate patterns they made in the sand. It brought him a simple, profound joy, a small pleasure in seeing the mark he was leaving on the world, a testament to his own journey. But as he was walking further along the shore, a powerful wave suddenly gathered itself in the ocean and crashed onto the beach. The white foam rushed over the sand, completely washing away the crab's beautiful, delicate footprints. The crab, who had been admiring his work just a moment before, became furious. He shook his claws at the ocean and shouted at the wave, Why did you do that? I thought you were my friend. You wiped away the beautiful footprints I had just made. What kind of friend are you? The wave, its voice the calm and ancient sound of the ocean itself, gently replied, "My dear friend, you have misunderstood. Look over there." The crab turned his gaze down the beach and noticed a pair of fishermen nearby. They were walking slowly, their eyes carefully scanning the sand, tracking crabs by following their footprints. Those fishermen are catching crabs by following their footprints. The wave continued softly, "I was not erasing your marks to upset you or to ruin your art. I was protecting you from being found and caught. Sometimes, my friend, what you perceive as harm is actually an act of love, a way of keeping you safe." The crab, taken aback, realized the profound truth in the wave's words. What he had perceived as a personal insult, a destructive act, was in fact an act of profound kindness. He lowered his claws in shame and quietly thanked the wave for saving him from a terrible danger. This simple story teaches us an important and timeless lesson. So often in our lives, we misunderstand the intentions of others or the nature of events. We see things only from our own limited perspective and feel hurt, betrayed, or angry without knowing the full story. Like the crab, we sometimes forget that what appears to be a setback, a loss, or an act of unkindness may actually be a blessing in disguise. Life, like the wise wave, sometimes has a way of protecting us, even when we can't see the danger. An opportunity that closes may be sparing us from a future hardship. A relationship that ends may be creating space for a more aligned one to begin. As the Buddha taught, every situation has two sides, and true wisdom lies in understanding, or at least being open to, both before making judgments. Rather than reacting with frustration or anger, we can learn to take a moment, to breathe, and to see if there might be a bigger picture we are not yet seeing. There is always more to learn if we can only open our hearts and minds to the possibility that not every wave that washes away our plans is an enemy. Some are here to save us. Story 5. The Eagle Who Believed It Was a Chicken, a story of self-realization. In a vast and peaceful forest, there stood an ancient banyan tree, its wide, sprawling branches reaching up to the heavens like 1,000 arms. This tree was a world unto itself, home to many creatures. Among them was a mighty eagle who had built her nest high up in its highest branches, a safe and secluded cradle for her eggs. Far below, at the base of the same tree, in the protective shelter of its strong, gnarled roots, a wild hen also found a place to lay her own eggs. The two birds lived their separate lives in the same great tree, unaware that fate had something unexpected in store for them. One day, a strong, sudden gust of wind blew fiercely through the forest, shaking the banyan tree to its core. One of the eagle's eggs was dislodged from the high nest and tumbled down through the leaves and branches. Miraculously, it landed gently and unbroken on the soft ground, right where the hen had made her nest. The mother hen, seeing the new egg, simply accepted it as one of her own. In time, the eggs of both the hen and the eagle hatched, and all the chicks began to grow together. Among them was the young eaglet who, never knowing its true nature or heritage, believed itself to be just another chicken. It did what the other chickens did. It mimicked their behavior perfectly. It scratched at the dusty ground, looking for grains and worms. It chirped and clucked like a chicken. When it tried to fly, it could only flutter a short, clumsy distance, just like its siblings. In its mind, this was the limit of its ability, because it saw itself as nothing more than a chicken. Day after day, it lived this small, grounded life, completely and tragically unaware of the immense strength and majestic potential that lay dormant within its very being. One bright and clear afternoon, the young eagle was pecking at the ground when it looked up at the vast, open sky. It saw a magnificent bird soaring high above the treetops, a silhouette of pure power and grace. It was gliding effortlessly on the air currents, its wings spread wide, radiating a sense of absolute strength and boundless freedom. The young eagle was filled with an indescribable sense of awe and a strange, deep yearning. What kind of incredible bird is that? It asked the mother hen. The hen glanced up casually at the sky and replied, "Oh, that is an eagle. He is the king of all birds. They are strong and free, flying higher than any other creature. Why can't I fly like that?" asked the young eagle, feeling a strange, powerful stirring in its heart, a memory of a sky it had never known. "Don't be foolish," the hen said firmly, yet not unkindly. "You are not an eagle. You are a chicken, and chickens don't fly like that. We belong on the ground, where it's safe. It's just the way things are." The young eagle, knowing no different, accepted this explanation. The strange yearning in its heart subsided, and it returned to scratching the ground. It continued to live its entire life as a chicken, never again attempting to fly high, never questioning the limits it had been given. It lived its days in the shadow of its own magnificent, unrealized potential, and when its time came, it passed away, still believing itself to be a chicken, never knowing it was born to soar in the boundless skies above. This poignant story of the eagle who lived and died as a chicken is a powerful metaphor for the human condition. It speaks to the cages of conditioning and the limiting beliefs we accept about ourselves. How many of us live our lives on the ground, unaware of the eagle's wings we carry on our backs? The journey of self-realization is about discovering that we are not the chickens we were raised to believe we are. But this journey brings its own challenges. What happens when we try to break free from the flock? What happens when our own mind becomes the staunchest defender of our limitations? In the next part of our journey, we will explore more stories that illuminate this difficult but essential path of waking up to our true nature. We left the poignant story of the eagle who believed it was a chicken, a powerful metaphor for the human condition. This tale isn't just about a bird, it is about us. It is about the invisible cages of conditioning and the limiting beliefs we accept about ourselves. Forgetting the sky that is our birthright, but what does it take to finally look up? What does it take to question the voices that tell us to stay on the ground and to finally recognize that the sky is our true home? This journey of self-realization is the greatest adventure we can ever undertake. This story of the eagle carries a profound and deeply personal lesson. So often in life, we are surrounded by the well-meaning, and sometimes not so well-meaning, voices of others. You can't do this, they say, that's not realistic. It's not possible for someone like you. And slowly, drop by drop, these external opinions seep into our consciousness until we stop to believe them. We stop trying new things. We stop taking risks. We stop daring to dream, because we unconsciously accept the limits that others have placed upon us. We build our own cage using their words as the bars. The real tragedy is not what others say, but that we begin to lose faith in ourselves. We forget our own innate strength, our own boundless potential, just like the eagle that lived and died believing it was a chicken. Many of us go through our entire lives tragically unaware of the full extent of our own capabilities. The real prison is not made of iron or stone. It is the one we construct in our own minds by doubting ourselves and by giving authority to the voices that tell us we are not enough. The Buddha often spoke of the importance of having faith, not just a blind faith in some external deity, but the deep, unshakable faith in oneself, in one's own capacity for awakening and growth. He believed that within each of us lies an immense, untapped potential, like the eagle born with the innate ability to soar through the heavens. But to unlock that potential, we must first have the courage to recognize that it exists, just as the eagle was conditioned to believe it was a chicken. We too are often conditioned by the limitations imposed on us by our family, our society, and most powerfully, by our own fears. True courage, the Buddha taught, is not found in those who succeed because they know they will win. True courage lies in those who continue to move forward even when defeat seems certain. It is found in believing in yourself when no one else does, in pushing beyond what others have deemed possible, and in refusing to give up even when the path ahead looks daunting and difficult. Just as the eagle was meant to soar, each and every one of us is meant to rise beyond the self-imposed limits placed upon us by doubt and fear. So, friends, let others say what they will. Their words are but wind. Know yourself, have faith in your abilities, in your strength, and in your purpose. The only limits that can truly hold you back are the ones you accept for yourself. The Buddha's timeless wisdom reminds us that freedom, like the eagle soaring in the sky, begins with the simple, radical act of recognizing the boundless potential that has been waiting patiently within you all along. Story 6. The Brave Little Bird. A story of effort and intention. Once upon a time, at the edge of a quiet village, there stood a small, simple house. One evening, a terrible fire broke out, and hot, angry flames began to engulf the wooden structure, lighting up the night sky with a destructive glow. The villagers quickly gathered, their faces illuminated by the fire, doing everything they could to put it out. Some formed a frantic line, passing buckets of water from the nearby well. Others used heavy blankets to try and smother the relentless flames, and some simply stood by, helpless and mesmerized by the sheer power of the blaze, unsure of what to do. High up in a corner of the burning house, tucked under the eaves, was a bird's nest. In that nest lived a tiny bird, and though its home was being rapidly consumed by flames, the bird was not ready to give up. With a heart filled with fierce determination, it resolved to save what little it could. The bird flew to a nearby stream, filled its tiny beak with a single drop of water, and flew back towards the inferno. With great effort and courage, it swooped low over the raging fire and released the one precious drop onto the flames. The bird did this over and over again, a tiny, valiant streak against the smoky sky, flying back and forth between the stream and the fire. Each time, it carried only a minuscule drop of water, barely enough to make a hiss against the roaring blaze. But the bird never stopped. Its tiny heart was filled with a powerful determination to help in any way it could. A cynical crow, sitting safely on a nearby tree, watched the bird's seemingly futile efforts with a sense of detached amusement. He shook his head and called out to the bird in a mocking tone, "You foolish little bird, what do you think you are doing? Can't you see this fire is immense? No matter how many times you fly back and forth, you will never be able to put it out. It's far too big for you. You are wasting your energy." The bird, panting from its exhaustive effort but still filled with an unshakable purpose, paused for a moment on a branch and looked at the crow. "I know," the bird said softly, its voice steady despite its fatigue. "I am fully aware that my small drops of water will not extinguish this fire." The crow tilted its head, confused. "If you know that, then why are you still wasting your energy on this hopeless task?" The bird replied with a simple yet profound dignity, "Because when the story of this fire is told, I want it to be said that I did my part. I want him to say that I contributed everything I had, no matter how small. I do not want to be remembered as the one who stood by, watching and mocking from a safe distance while others struggled. I want to be counted on the side that tried." The crow fell silent. It had no response to the bird's simple, powerful words. The bird, without another glance at the crow, continued its brave efforts, knowing that the true value of its actions was not measured by whether the fire was ultimately extinguished, but in the unwavering intention of its heart. This story carries a deep and meaningful lesson for all of us. Just like the bird, we often face situations and challenges in our lives that seem overwhelming and insurmountable. And just like the crow, there will always be people who mock our efforts, who tell us that we cannot succeed. There are always those who would rather watch from the sidelines, offering no help, only cynicism and criticism. These are the people who discourage, who mock, and who sometimes even take a strange pleasure in seeing others fail. But the Buddha's teachings remind us of the supreme importance of samavayama, or right effort, and satana, intention, in life. It is not always about whether we succeed in a grand, spectacular way or whether we solve every problem we face. It is about whether we take action. It is about whether we make a genuine effort to do what is right, to contribute positively, even in the face of near certain failure or harsh criticism. The Buddha often spoke of the power of intention, the state of the heart and mind behind our actions. It is the intention to do good, to help, to be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem. That truly matters most. In this world, it is easy to feel small and insignificant when the challenges ahead seem too great to overcome. But just as the bird kept pouring its single drops of water on the fire, we must continue to put forth our best effort, no matter how small it may seem. The Buddha taught that small, consistent acts of kindness, compassion, and effort can create ripples that spread far and wide, often in ways we can never see. The real problem in the world lies not with those who try and fail, but with those who do nothing but criticize. These people, like the crow, do not understand that every single small action toward goodness matters. The lesson here is simple and powerful. Do not be discouraged by the mockery or negativity of others. Believe in the power of your own effort, no matter how small it may seem. Every drop counts, every kind word, every small act of help, every attempt to make things better adds to the greater good. Even when success seems impossible, continue to act with purpose, with kindness, and with a clear intention to make a positive difference. Just like the brave little bird, let your actions speak for themselves. The world will always have its share of crows, those who watch and laugh from a distance. But it is the ones who try, the ones who keep going against the odds, who truly leave a lasting and beautiful mark on the world. Story 7, The Wise Serpent, a lesson in non-violence and inner strength. During the time when Gautama Buddha was spreading his profound message of ahimsa, or non-violence, and boundless compassion, all kinds of beings, human and animal alike, sought his guidance and wisdom. One day, a large snake, known for its potent venom, approached the Buddha, seeking initiation into the path of enlightenment. The snake, with a surprising sincerity in its voice, said, "Lord, I am tired of my own nature. I wish to walk the path of peace and be free from the violence that is inherent within me. Please, grant me initiation." The Buddha looked at the snake with compassionate eyes and replied, "You still have violence in your heart. You bite people out of fear and anger, causing them harm. Until you can rid yourself of this harmful behavior, you are not ready for initiation." The snake was disappointed but determined. "Is there no way for me to change? Is there nothing I can do to follow your teachings?" The Buddha, seeing the snake's earnest desire, said, "There is a way, but it requires great discipline. You must stop biting. You must let go of your instinct to harm others." The snake responded with a surge of hope. "I will stop biting, Lord, I promise." The Buddha, however, cautioned him, "It is not enough to simply say it. You must prove it. You must pass a test of non-violence. For 3 days, go among the people and behave with kindness and restraint. Do not strike or bite anyone. No matter the provocation, show the world that you are truly committed to the path of peace." The snake agreed, full of determination. "So be it, Lord. I will follow your instructions." With this vow, the snake slithered away, intent on proving its worthiness. It chose to lie down on the main street of the city, in full view of everyone, to demonstrate its peaceful intentions. As people passed by and saw the large snake lying on the road, they screamed in terror, running away in fear for their lives. But the snake, remembering the Buddha's teachings, called out to them, "Do not fear. I have made a pledge to the Lord Buddha. I will no longer harm anyone. I am here to live with you in peace and good faith." Nearby, a shrewd shopkeeper overheard the snake's words. Curious and skeptical, he approached cautiously. "Snake," he said, "even if you claim to have changed, can a creature with venomous fangs ever truly be a friend to humans?" The snake, eager to prove its transformation, replied with a smile, "I have removed my venom. Metaphorically speaking, I no longer pose a threat to anyone. I am your friend now." The shopkeeper, seeing an opportunity for exploitation, thought for a moment and then said with a sly smile, "Well, if you were truly my friend, I could use some help. I have some heavy goods to carry, but I don't have anything to tie them with. Perhaps you could help me by using your long body like a rope." Without hesitation, the snake, eager to prove its newfound goodness and be of service, agreed. It allowed the shopkeeper to use its body to tie up the heavy bundles of goods. The shopkeeper then carried them home, laughing all the way, pleased with his clever trick. Days passed, and the Buddha, curious to see how the snake was faring on its path, walked along the road to find it. When he finally came upon the snake, he was shocked by what he saw. The once strong and proud serpent now lay flattened and torn, its body bruised and its spirit broken, barely recognizable. It was weak, miserable, and close to death. The Buddha knelt beside the snake and asked gently, "What has happened to you, my friend? How did you end up in such a pitiable state?" With great difficulty, the snake recounted the story of how it had been mocked, mistreated, and taken advantage of by the people, especially by the cruel shopkeeper who had used it like a piece of rope. The Buddha listened patiently, his heart filled with compassion. He then said, "My dear student, I told you not to bite, but I did not tell you to stop defending yourself. I did not tell you to let others trample upon you. You have misunderstood the deeper meaning of nonviolence. It does not mean that you should allow yourself to be mistreated or exploited. Nonviolence is not weakness or submission. There is a great difference between not causing harm and not protecting yourself." The snake, realizing its grave error, replied, "I see my mistake now. Lord, I thought that in order to follow your teachings, I had to abandon all my natural instincts. But in doing so, I lost myself and became weak." The Buddha, with deep compassion in his eyes, continued, "There are several important lessons to be learned here. First, it is your nature to be a snake, and you must not abandon what you are. Your Dharma, your true path, lies in finding the balance between your inherent nature and your practice of peace. When you suppress who you truly are, you create an imbalance which leads to suffering, both for yourself and for others. Second, just as a snake has been gifted with venom as a natural defense, so too should you not give up the blessings of your own nature. Use your abilities wisely and with discretion, not to harm others out of anger, but to protect yourself when necessary. A hiss to warn others away is not an act of violence. It is an act of self-preservation. Third, never reveal all your intentions or inner strengths to others. There will always be those who, like the shopkeeper, will take advantage of your trust and your perceived weakness. The world can be harsh, and it is wise to keep certain aspects of yourself private, especially your vulnerabilities. And finally, the Buddha concluded, initiation and spiritual knowledge should be guided by a true guru. It is not something to be pursued in isolation with a naive understanding. The guidance of a wise teacher is essential in helping you understand the deeper, more nuanced meanings of the teachings. The snake bowed its head, humbled by these profound insights. I have learned my lesson, Lord, it said. I now see that following the path of non-violence does not mean abandoning my nature or becoming weak. It means finding strength within peace and acting wisely. The Buddha smiled warmly. Yes, my friend, true wisdom comes from understanding who you are and how to walk the middle path. Non-violence is not about being passive or powerless. It is about living with awareness, compassion, and a deep inner strength. The snake, grateful for the Buddha's teachings, vowed to continue its journey with this new, balanced understanding. It would no longer bite out of malice, but it would also not allow itself to be trampled upon. Buddha, pleased with the snake's progress, continued his journey, spreading his message of compassion, wisdom, and the middle path. These stories, passed down through the ages, are more than just simple tales. They are mirrors reflecting our own lives, our own struggles, and our own potential for wisdom and peace. From the beggar by the river, we learn to find joy in the present moment. From the two hands, we learn of our shared responsibility. From the settling water, we learn the power of patience. From the crab and the wave, we learn to see blessings in disguise. From the eagle, we learn to recognize our own potential. And from the brave little bird and the wise serpent, we learn about true effort and balanced strength. Each story is a guidepost on the path to a more mindful, compassionate, and serene life. The wisdom within him is not meant to be just admired, it is meant to be lived. If these teachings have offered you a moment of clarity, a sense of peace, or a new way of seeing the world, we warmly invite you to become a part of our community. Please take a moment to like this video, as it helps this wisdom reach more people who may need it. Subscribe to our channel for more stories and teachings that inspire mindful living. And in the comments below, we invite you to share which of these stories resonated most deeply with you today. Your reflection is a gift to us all. Thank you for watching, and may your journey be filled with wisdom, compassion, and peace.